When you're struggling with mental health, have you ever heard someone say you can reach out for help? But what does the reality of getting mental health help really looks like? Let's talk about it.
Trigger warning. This episode contains conversations surrounding assault, depression, and suicide. Viewers' discretion is advised.
Hi everyone, I'm Fawza, your host, and today with our special guest Kyra. You might have seen her in one of our videos on ADHD, and today here she is back again to discuss mental health. And thank you so much for being here today. So, if you don't mind, can you explain introduce yourself a little bit?
Okay, hi. My name is Kyra. I have ADHD, and I also have struggled with depression throughout my life.
Yeah.
I have been getting help for for as long as I did.
Mm-hmm.
I've been admitted to hospital once. It was the whole thing. So yeah,
So that's your background.
I can
Yep.
say that for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we've been friends for like 10 years, right? And I know some of the story about your background and all, but I actually never know what was the beginning look like. When did you start realizing that you are struggling with mental health?
I think throughout most of my life, I felt that I have always felt that something was wrong with me, but I always like brush it off to something. I don't know, maybe I'm just shy, I'm just severely shy, or maybe I'm just a little bit weird or funny to some people. I don't know. And then as I grew up, the things tend to get like snowballed. It started small and then it started with bigger. And I think it's during the pandemic where we were in the lockdown, that's where like it just exploded. And I feel like, this is not okay. At that time, yeah. So
What year was that?
it was
2000?
2020.
Okay.
It was during the whole lockdown thing. I was stranded in Sarawak all on my own. It was really insane. So it was that time I feel like this is not okay. So I look up on the internet, and also I remember that time the TikTok was getting a little bit known to other people. So people are starting to get into short form content, and I started getting things about borderline personality disorder. So I look up about it, and from that point I was falling into this whole rabbit hole about this mental health thing, and that's where I discovered that there's definitely something. Yeah. I used to struggle with borderline personality disorder. It has now been dropped because I am not gonna say I'm fully cured, but
Wait,
doesn't
it has
really
been dropped?
Yes, it has been dropped actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it used to impact me a lot, but now after getting treatment and things, I did not really get like 100% treated just for BPD. It was because I treated my ADHD, but that my BPD get resolved, which is very interesting. Yeah.
I see. So that's why they dropped that diagnosis.
Yeah.
Okay. So it all started from 2020, right?
Exactly.
Did anyone ever like help you during the beginning stage of like reaching out for help?
No, I was 100% on my own. At first I tried to go to like a normal GP, trying to get a referral to a psychiatry. It did not work. They did not believe. Basically
They did not believe.
I was raising concerns about ADHD, and they asked me about my exam result, and I said, "Oh, I've got 6 A's," and she was like,
Okay.
"Yeah, because it's still a thing here that ADHD is being considered a learning disability. When if you search it on Google, a basic search on Google will say that it is actually not. It is not just an in-classroom struggle. It's a whole life struggle."
But in Malaysia, it's considered as kurang upaya pembelajaran.
Yes, it is still considered that in the official registration, which is very much insane.
Right.
Because,
But then, since they kind of dismissed you the first time, how did it eventually end up to that diagnosis?
So I was very desperate at that time, and the only psychiatric clinic that I found that accepts like walk in straight to see a psychiatrist. I had to pay them 400 ringgit out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
So I was earning money on my own from that, and I used my first paycheck to pay for that. It was very insane, and I had to do it all on my own. And that time the lockdown is still imminent, so I had to do it. I have to silently go into a room, go to a corner, and talk to my psychiatrist. And I remember the first thing he asked me was, "Are you standing?" I was literally standing the whole thing.
You were at your house
Yeah,
at the time.
I was in my house, locked in a room, and I was video calling with my psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And the first thing he asked was, "Are you standing?" Yeah, I just want to stand. I'm just so excited to be here. Just get evaluated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the psychiatrist who evaluated me. He also have ADHD, he told me. And then he said, "Looking at you now is literally like looking at a mirror. It's just me." Your enthusiasm and things, that how you talk about things, it kind of shows, but we still have to evaluate further. I did a whole test on adult ADHD, and basically, yeah, that's where I got my first diagnosis.
I see. And that was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 years ago. I can relate to that. The fact that you said you were excited for the appointment.
Yeah.
Because I think, I mean, I don't know how it is for most people, but I think sometimes we hear like, oh, I'm too scared to go to the doctors. I'm too scared to get an appointment, and I just rather stay quiet. But I relate to you on that because I also feel excited to reach out for help. Right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I want to see a doctor. I want to get my diagnosis. I want to see what's going on. I want to get a medication and all of that, right?
Yeah.
But it's not as, what's the term? It's not all raining rainbows.
Yeah, it's not all rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah,
It's not all
it's not like
beautiful.
once you reach out for help, it's cured, or like, okay, here's the solution, boom, and then within months you are cured.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so my question would be, what was the biggest challenge during your healing process?
There's a lot of challenges we have to. Starting from the start, when I had to pay 400 out of pocket just to see a doctor, and it was not sustainable to do at the time.
Yeah.
So it ended up getting abandoned. Like had to stop getting help for ADHD because the only help that I have at the moment is like 400 ringgit per visit.
Right.
And that does not include the medications that I need to take. So yeah, I had to stop going to see the doctor, and I started my first degree, and I failed my first degree. Yeah, it was very insane because online school. It was COVID.
Yeah.
Online school. Everything has to be done online, and people are not accustomed to it yet. So the online lectures are pain, to say the least. There's a lot of these lecturers doesn't know how to edit videos properly, and I don't think they ever know about the thing about accessibility in video editing and things like that. So I think I cannot register a single thing from one of the online lectures. Like, I cannot understand a single thing. I don't understand anything. I ended up like failing so badly that I almost get kicked out of the uni. So it was a whole thing. I had a big fight at home. I almost got kicked out of the home because of the whole thing. And I just...
Because of the studies.
Yeah, because of me failing my degree and things like that. It was a huge fight. It ended up getting physical at one point. It was like one of the low point of me. So I just silently went to I just emailed my lecturers and things. I said, I want to be transferred to another program instead of doing the bio program that I did. I changed to the thing that I wanted to do. It's not like I wanted to do it, but
it was the last option.
It was the thing that I have known, like it's like the thing that I have known that I am good at, which is music. And yeah.
And even then, I remember it took a while too, right? The process.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. It was a whole process of like transferring from bio to music. it's a very complicated process. I was overwhelmed the whole time. It is painful, I can say that for sure. And I think that is changing to music is like one of the best decision I have made in my entire life.
Yeah.
Because I think changing my degree to music is actually what led me to get proper treatment for the first time ever.
But before music, did you tell anyone about your struggles about ADHD?
I tried to, but the response is, yeah, it was not
Not it.
definitely not it. Yeah.
And then you transferred to music, and that where you get like good friends, good like group of people who does support you, understand you, right?
Yeah, because when I joined in the music program, it's so small. It's like 20 people per batch. So like even if you have 3 years of students, it's like 60 people at most, 70. So it's very small. The list of lecturers are very small, and everyone knows each other from the first year until the lecturers and even the deans. We know each other. So it's a very close and tight knit community. So that's where like they actually took my ADHD very seriously. And I remember that time my lecturer is the first one who actually referred me to the university's clinic that time, so that I could actually get a proper treatment for my ADHD. And I'm very, very much grateful to her for that.
Aww.
Yes.
So sweet. But overall, people's reaction were really nice.
Yeah, they are very understanding. I mean, at first they were pretty weird because I have stated from the start that I have ADHD and it is very much untreated.
Yeah.
And they started to see me struggling, and at first they were confused. And then when I remind them that I have ADHD and it was undertreated at that time, they started to understand that this thing has to be taken care of. So that's where this whole thing goes.
Yeah, and it's not just like you're trying to, like, you're lazy or you're purposefully trying not to perform in your class and so on.
Ouch.
No, I'm just from other people's perspective, like you know, like how people were dismissing you in the beginning.
Yeah. I think of myself of that. I thought like, why am I this lazy? Like, why is it so hard for me to start to do something?
Yeah.
Why is it so hard for me to do an assignment? Why is it so hard for me to just get this? What do you call this?
Work? What?
This thing.
Water? Glass?
The glass from my room into the kitchen. Why is that so hard? It looks it looks simple, but ADHD. It's not as simple as it is actually.
Yeah.
I thought it was just it's just hard to start a project or something. And no, it's way more complicated than that actually. And yeah, it is a huge rabbit hole to fall into. So yeah, ADHD is not just, oh, I don't really have attention. Butterflies. I mean, there are some, yeah, I can say that I did that too. It happens, but there is more than that.
Yeah, it's not just like the quirky traits people say on TikTok.
Oh yeah, yeah, no.
If you have ADHD, you do this, you do that. Alamak, terlanggar meja lah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have stubbed my toe. I still don't know why I have my toes. The amount of times I stub my toes, I have bruises all over my body from bumping into stuff that is just there existing. But I cannot see it because my brain is just busy doing, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's,
what was the term again?
I think it's lack of prior perception. I think the word is. Yeah. It's like the awareness of the things that are around you. I might underestimate like how far this thing actually is from my body. Sometimes I don't even know where my hand is, which is very funny.
Yeah.
It's just, wait, where's my hand? But yeah, it's not just, ADHD is not just fun and games. People who are undiagnosed with ADHD untreated and things like that, they are more prone to depression. Depression among people with ADHD is very much very prevalent because I don't know if your ADHD weren't treated, you're just being told to people that you are lazy, you are I don't know, the daydreamer, you don't listen what other people say, you are a troubled person. I mean, how the heck someone's not gonna get depression from being told every single time that you're a lazy person? Yeah. Every single time you forgot to do your homework and you go to school and you got scolded by a teacher. I feel like, yeah, I mean, how is it that you're not gonna get depression from that?
And then it's like repeatedly throughout your whole life until you actually learn that this is just ADHD.
Yeah, it's like I have this thing this whole life where I feel like fall into a hole once, okay, probably a mistake. Fall into it twice, what is going on? Fall in it 3,000 times. I wonder what is going on.
Yeah.
Right. It's like people with ADHD, kids with ADHD basically is disciplined way more times than typical children.
Yeah.
It's like we have been criticized way more than other people did. So we just end up having this feeling that, oh, we're probably that hard to listen to people, we're probably that hard to teach.
Yeah.
We're just lazy, we just don't want to listen to people, we're just, I don't know, but inside you know that you are trying and you are trying very hard, but it does not translate on the outside. So you just end up giving up.
You struggle and you try to survive as much as you can, and then in the beginning people say, oh, you're not failing, you're striving, so you're fine. But then it takes you to the point that you're actually failing in your degree for people to actually see what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It for me to realize what's going on. Yeah. I mean, I know for a long time that there's something going on, but when I failed that degree, I realized that I used to be the kid who scores an average of 95 in exams. I never get lower than 90 in my exams. I was like one of the top 3 students in my school of, I don't know, 500 people, 300 people.
Yeah.
So I was like, what went wrong here? Why am I failing my degree? I mean, I know for a fact that my lectures, my class, my basically my online school journey is very much poop. But yeah, there's something going on here.
Coming back to help, I remember you telling this, like, I mean, you were diagnosed with ADHD and you were getting the help that you need, but at one point your ADHD diagnosis were actually dropped.
Oh,
Can you tell me, like, how did that happen?
That was when I was in uni. I'm studying music and I was still struggling so bad that I actually attempted. Not just once, not just twice. I think my record was 7 times. Yeah, so there was this one point that they told me that, this is a call for help. I don't think, because the amount of times I've attempted to do it, they just hold me in they just hold me in the emergency room until I'm like, they just stuff me with IV and things like that, and they just let it run and cleanse my body out of the things that I just shove into my mouth, and then they just let me go with some kind of a follow-up with
Just like that.
psychiatric, just like that. But that one time they just, because I've been going to the same hospital for the thing like multiple times, they were like, I don't think I can let you go this time. This is not your first time, not even your second time, your third time. No, this is like, I can't remember what time is it because it's way too much time. So
Honestly, it's crazy that it took that much time for them to like, okay, we can't let you go.
Yeah, it is funny to me. Like, it's literally me trying to throw myself off a cliff like multiple times before they realize that, this kid needs help. Yeah, I think one of the reason is because I am not like I'm not native to there. Like my family lives in KL and things like that.
Right.
I was living alone and I only have friends and lecturers for support. So like it's like a whole, I am living under university or kind of things. Like
Yeah.
my parents is there, but that time they really just no, we're not letting this kid go. This
Yeah.
kid has been doing this thing like for how many times again? Yeah. So in that time I was admitted to the psychiatric ward. I was being seen by a doctor and I told him about all these things that I have my entire life, from my childhood to my school days to my university days, and what led me to that point. And for some reason, I have no idea why, he just brushed off all of my childhood things because he just chalked it up to like things kids just do.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like my excessive daydreaming that literally me being dissolved in my dream so much that I don't know like the surroundings around me.
Yeah.
And my failure to do homeworks, like I've never done a single homework my entire life. I can tell that for sure. And he just pinpoint the exact catastrophe date when I was in Form 4, when I started getting panic attacks and things like that. And he asked me about like, ADHD, it really starts at childhood.
Okay.
Yeah. This whole thing. So yeah. Of course, ADHD starts at childhood. Yeah, I know. And he explained like my history of depression and things like that. And he asked me, do you think that depression causes ADHD?
He asked you that.
Yeah.
And then?
Depression does cause attention issues, But does it cause ADHD? Why are you asking me? You are the doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
But it led me to this whole thing that I don't know. When I think back about it, I would have argued that ADHD symptoms will lead to depression.
Yeah.
Depression.
Anything untreated would eventually lead to depression.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it was at that point they dropped my ADHD and it was dropped for a while.
Wow.
I think until when I think I had another attempt after that, and the dean was just pleading to my mother like, please take her home. She is not well mentally. We don't know what to do. Like I have multiple there has been multiple times where police, like the campus police, has been called to our faculty to catch me.
Yeah.
Because I am literally out of it at time. I was very much trying to do it like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so they were like, no, we need to get her home. We are very worried about her safety and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How does it make you feel? Like, do you think people were, I don't know, like the help was efficient enough, or were they handling it too late?
I mean, because how should I word this? Because the whole time I was getting help from a psychiatric hospital, which is like the Sarawak equivalent of Hospital Bahagia. So like, it's kind of funny that my issue weren't being taken seriously even after my multiple attempts.
Yeah.
I think it chalks down to the system with the government. Like, now government psychiatric clinics are very, very overwhelmed.
True.
Like, I only get 30 minutes. I only get 15 minutes every single visit. And it is very surface level. I were just being asked like, oh, am I doing okay? Is my medication working? And nothing else.
Yeah.
And every single time, every single appointment, there's different doctors. We did not get to build a rapport. So I did not get to build a relationship with my doctors and things like that. So I feel like when I go to the governmental psychiatric clinic, I feel like I've been seen as a patient more than as a human
Yeah.
that needs more than, is my medication working?
Yeah.
Is my life, I don't know, am I having these kind of thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all just surface level. Okay, you have these symptoms, then here it is. If you don't have it, then we're not gonna look into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I relate to that because I think mine was also in 2020. I think we were suffering in the same year.
It is a year of suffering.
Yeah,
The
it's a
pandemic
year of
is
suffering.
Yeah, it brings the worst in all of us.
True. Yeah, and then I also had like a few attempts, and then I went to emergency. And then the last one I remember, I went there willingly with my friends, and then the nurse there was like, kenapa adik buat macam ni, dek? It's like, what do you mean? I'm already like, I'm already like this, and then you're asking me why am I doing this, and then but it's fine, it's like the nurse that maybe they're overwhelmed and such, and then so I was there, and I was contemplating whether or not to tell my parents, but psychiatrists also were there to like assess me and like just look what's going on, and then she said, do you know that this is illegal in Malaysia? It's like you're not helping at all. And then even with like after I called my parents, and then my parents was like, did you pray, don't you know that this will end you up in hell? And then it's like, it's the whole idea of help is like, oh, help is the solution, and it does for a moment. I think, do you feel this way? Like for a moment it feels like, oh, I feel relieved that finally I managed to go to the hospital, I meet psychiatrists. But the whole process is so long, and like not everyone is going to be kind and understanding to you. So it's like so difficult, I feel like, with the help and how people are handling this.
Oh yeah. 5,000%. Yeah, I remember every single time I try to attempt and end up in the ER. I don't know if I probably was, high from all the medication that I tried to. But I felt so relieved every single time I was lying down in the ER and I have my hand poked for I don't know how many times. I feel like, oh yeah, I feel so safe now. I feel safe that there's someone looking after me. I feel safe that I am being treated, that I am being, I don't know, someone is paying attention to me. Yeah, it is definitely a scream of attention, but some people just call it at that. Looking for attention.
Yeah.
And they gave the attention, but not in the kind of way that we actually wanted to.
Yeah, but that's the thing, because they think that is like a negative thing. And I brought that up to my psychiatrist, like I struggle with attention. And then he said that, is attention bad? Like you need help, so of course you need attention because you need help. But people kind of take it the wrong way, like, oh, you're just over dramatic, or again, like you said, you're lazy, or you can't handle this. I went through this stage also. And it's like, and now I think it's good that people are having this like awareness conversation. But I realize for some older generation, they think that this is a trend or that we are weak. But it's just like, this is educational, and that this is finally where we get to speak and say that this is, this is serious and you need to take this serious. And I think a lot of conversations around mental health is also about destigmatizing mental health, right? But I think we really need to tell them this is how it felt when, we weren't cared enough, when we tried to reach out for help.
Yeah, I've always had this thing where like people, anyone who is on the internet looking for attention in a bad way, I think inside they are actually looking for an attention, just not in a way that they want it to actually. Because people who have been in abusive situation, they don't know what it feels like, so they only dive themselves into things that what they feel familiar.
Yep.
So we have all these stories about people who were in abusive relationships and then they actually got in a healthy one, and they were like, are you sure? Are you sure that you're doing this to me? Are you sure there's no hidden prize within? When the partner is like actually doing something nice to them, because they're not used to having this kind of, healthy relationship. and things
And
like
then you
that.
feel uneasy, like,
Yeah,
what?
it's very awkward when you have been in an abusive environment, and suddenly you're in a healthy environment, and you were very skeptical of everything, and you are very like hyper vigilant about everything because you have been in danger for so long
Yeah.
that you don't know what safe place feels like.
Damn. Yeah, so there's that. But eventually, after people started seeing you and like helping you, what were like some of the help that they give? Like, did they give you like break, or maybe okay, you can send your assignment late, or it's okay like at your own pace? What were the kind of help they did give you?
Oh, the first thing that I remember is when I was meeting my dean. I remember she was telling me like, I am not letting you take more than 15 credit hours per semester, because if you take more than that, you will flunk.
Mm-hmm.
I remember because on the first semester, because I was being referred from another faculty, and I was referred with like GB status, which is like I almost got kicked out status. So I was only allowed to take 15 credit hours that semester, and I got a dean's list. I was doing very well. And then the second semester came along, and I had to take the same amount of credit hour like everyone else, and I almost failed again. I mean, there are certain classes that I thrive. Like, the discrepancy is very, very much obvious. There are classes that I was basically like the best ones, and then the class that I suffered, literally almost zero. It was so sad that I remember towards the end of my what do you call it, semester at that time. It was almost the final exam. I got called to the dean's office, and she literally just erased all of my almost failing classes from my system, so that I can actually pass that semester.
Oh.
I ended up having to erase, I think, like 2 or 3 subjects I have to erase because I was not able to do anything. And she said, like, I see the potential in you. Everyone see the potential in you. You are a very great musician, but also you are struggling with something that you cannot, for the life of yourself, able to manage on your own, at least without medication. Because I've been thinking to myself like, oh, is this my fault that I'm struggling with things? My dean was very nice. She is very empathetic. She told me multiple times, like, she nailed this in my head, that you cannot blame yourself for something that, I don't know, that is the fault of your own like body. That's something that I cannot control. I cannot, what, do I take brain food to cure my ADHD? It's not going to work that way. It's not easily that much. It's a disorder. Like, it's there for a reason. Like, yeah.
Reminds me of the meme, like people say, just exercise. Oh, if only I knew that. If only.
The ADHD equivalent of it is, just buy a journal. Just use a calendar. There's to-do list tasks. I know.
Do you think I've never tried?
You think I've never tried?
Yeah.
Can you count the amount of journals just stacking up in my room, just half of them filled? It's not that easy. Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, like I'm curious to know, you said that you were in psychiatry ward, right? Can you share like what's the wildest story that you heard from like one of the patients there?
Oh my goodness. I think I've shared this to you people once, but when I was in psychiatric ward, I was assaulted physically. There was this one person who is like very mentally feeble. She's like, I don't know, she just like have a mental capacity of a 15-year-old, something like that. She's very unable to take care of herself, and then she was admitted at that time. She started to take a liking on me, and it was not just liking, she was obsessive. Like she was harassing me every single time from, it just comes from a novel conversation. I was fine with that. I don't have the conversation, I don't have the energy to talk to people. I mean, it's in a psychiatric ward. I was
Yeah.
trying to heal. Yeah. And this girl was basically harassing me this whole time, and I was feeling pretty uncomfortable.
Did
But,
anyone notice?
yeah, some people actually notice that that girl really takes a liking on me because, yeah, there are a friend of mine that I made friend during the psychiatric ward. She said she really likes you for some reason. Yeah, she bothers a lot of people, but there's like this extra attention on me when I was sitting at the table just coloring and doing my own things. She would just be there and tell me about, hi, you're so pretty, I like your hair, can I touch it? And I was like, okay, it's fine, it's harmless.
Yeah.
But then all of this harassment started to have this kind of sexual innuendos, and it's getting very uncomfortable. So I had to I talked to one of the attendants that, oh, this girl is harassing me and her words are turning very sexual, and I don't like it. It's uncomfortable. I'm getting scared of her because she's also physically bigger than me.
Yeah.
She's way taller than I am. So I tell the attendants like, I please have a talk with her, anything, I don't know, because I am getting very uncomfortable. She did not take the note well.
What?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that she doesn't have the mental capacity to think of the right or wrong. She is very much,
I thought you were saying the nurse.
mentally incapacitated. But no, it's not the nurse who took it wrongly, it's the girl.
Okay.
Yeah, she started like rummaging through my things. She started taking like whatever was on my bed unattended and she threw it in the trash. It was getting very like, every time I was talking to someone, she would get very angry. She would throw tantrums a lot and things like that. She was literally like going to my bed, even though she had been asked to stay away from me. She was going to my bed and literally told me, let's go, my driver is waiting, we can have sex together. I was very scared. It was very scary. And there was this one time that she was very angry that I did not return her love. That I remember that one time she took a book, a novel that I was reading,
Yeah.
and she just pelted it on me. I remember there was like this huge nasty bruise on my
What?
thigh for a few days because of it. It was very like, it was very hard actually. I was also surprised that she's very strong. She pelted me with a novel and it bruised for days. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I was also surprised. It was scary. And that time I remember the doctors are starting to take the threat seriously. But they still let her roam in the same ward as me for some reason.
They didn't even separate you guys.
No. That is like, I don't understand. I also don't understand why.
Yeah.
I remember, I think the last straw was at night. I was lying down on my bed. The lights are like dimmed. I was looking at the other way, but I saw this kind of shadow looming around. And I look back, and she was in a position where she is actually ready to physically punch me in the face.
Oh my god.
And I remember that single second, all of the nurses just comes into the room, just bolting by, and they just, okay, that's it, time out, you need to be separated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was very shaken up from that time. I was so scared. Like, I cannot imagine what would happen if no one saw it, or if I didn't turn around, if I didn't see that shadow of her like trying to get ready to tai chi my butt. It's very scary. I remember for a few days I was way too scared of her. Every time she needs to go to the toilet, because the separation area doesn't have a toilet,
Yeah.
so she had to use the toilet in our area. I would run to the furthest corner that I can, and they will be like human, like the people that are in my ward.
Yeah.
They're just shielding me from her view. Yeah. And there are times where like she has to use the toilet and they literally have to let me go out into the area where I can read a book or do something like that. Anything that can separate me from her, because she is very much agitated when she sees me. It was pretty scary. Yeah.
I'm sorry that you went through that, but it's almost like a pattern. Like it takes that serious of like a situation for them to like, okay, now you guys need to be separated.
There was the ones they were considering, like, for some reason they wanted to put me into the separation zone, which is very weird because I'm not causing any issues here. She did, and she's not harassing just me. She's bothering everyone else in the area. So I was very weirded out by their decision to let me into the separation room instead of her. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But that night the decision was just like imminent. It's like very obvious who's the danger here.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how it went.
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
It's very
It's
eventful.
crazy.
That 1 week I was in the psychiatric ward, it was very eventful. It was
It's
insane.
not healing.
Healing. Huh.
Yeah, and that was like a few years ago, or was it still like last year?
It's like, yeah, it's last year.
Damn.
Yeah, it's still very recent. It's still very fresh in my mind. I can remember it like it's yesterday.
But how do you feel now? How after all of that process of getting help?
I can say for sure that I am in a very much better place now. But it still makes me sad because of that one thing that actually led to me getting to where I have been now is probably something that is not accessible to everyone, which is proper care.
Yeah.
I switched to a private psychiatry clinic because the government one is just not cutting it. I remember when I go to the government clinic, my appointment is set at 3 months.
Yeah.
I had to be in a waiting list. Yeah, I have to wait for 3 months for me to see a doctor. And when that final doctor, the last doctor that I see, actually took my ADHD seriously, and she was trying to refer me to a psychotherapist, I have to wait for 6 months.
Oh my God.
Because, get this, it is a major hospital, government hospital in KL, and there are only four major clinical psychologists in the whole hospital.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then the next time I saw them, 2 of them has resigned.
Really? So there's only 2 left for the whole goddamn hospital.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that reminds me because I also went to Putrajaya, not the at first I was in hospital Putrajaya, but then the mental hospital in Putrajaya, right? If you Mentari.
Okay,
Yeah, Mentari. Yeah, I went there. And then this is also what I wanted to share with you, the fact that you said that people were dismissing you. Yeah, I remember sharing like some stories to my counselor at university and then to my psychiatrist, and one of the stories was I already shared this to you, but one of the stories was the fact that I wanted to chop my head off when I was 6.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I told that to my doctors, and because I was like, what was going on? And then they said, oh, maybe you were influenced by the TV. Yep. Oh, a suicidal child was influenced by some cartoon. I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. And then I tried to bring up some, potential issues that, okay, maybe this is OCD, or maybe this is some sort of diagnosis that I needed, like assessment. And then I tried to bring up to my psychiatrist, and then 2 of them or 3 of them was like, yeah, no. And the last one was like, said, maybe you've outgrown it. And the same story that you said, like they dismissed your childhood entirely. I mean, they are the professionals, so I understand that. But I think it's just the system that is like overwhelmed, because she did after that trying to refer me to the therapist and also psychologist. And then I was like, okay, but when is that? It's like bulan 10, and at that time it was like earlier of the year, so like it's still gonna take me like what 6 months also to wait. So it's just very slow, the
Ouch.
system. So yeah.
Yeah, this whole thing about, clinicians just dismissing you. It is also, I don't know, from what I understand of how they work is that they will try to check out, they try to cross the worst diagnosis first. So like that's where they have this whole like family history and things like that goes on. But I understand that the doctors might not get it right the first time. It is very much normal, but the fact is that we have been looking around for a long time. We've been looking around looking for answers, and when I actually try to find the answers myself, I've been reading like actual journal articles. I've been reading the textbooks that the doctors use to diagnose people, and then I get told that I am just way too anxious. I have health anxiety. I'm trying to seek for attention and things like that, when I was actually trying to find a reason why am I like this.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes either way we cannot win. If we try little to get help, we get nothing. If we try too much to get help, they will accuse of something that that is definitely is not true. I mean, I understand diagnosing someone with a disorder is very, very tricky because, we have all of these differential diagnoses where, one symptom can mimic the others, like
overlaps.
yeah, the overlaps and things like that. It is very complicated, I understand, but at least I just want people to like know that just hear out our concern, because a lot of these people have been looking for help for way too long. Like they've been looking from doctors to doctors, and if you see if you see some kind of a checklist, they would probably say that you have Munchausen syndrome, which is very bad.
What?
Which is Munchausen syndrome is like you are like imposing some kind of symptoms on yourself and trying to get yourself diagnosed with something that you don't have, but you're trying to get it. And that is like one of the criteria is just jumping from doctor to doctor to like seek medication and diagnosis and things like that. And
Just
it's
so
very
that you
bad.
get it.
Yeah, it's either it looks like from the outside, it could be someone is trying to get themselves diagnosed with something that they don't have, or is someone trying to get a second, third, fourth opinion for things because the doctor keep dismissing them, telling that they're just fatigued because you are not exercising enough or things like that, and they did not take account that they have been having diarrhea for their whole life, or their food intake is not, I don't know, they don't have any appetite to eat or anything psychological and things like that.
It's like you're not healthy. Done.
Yeah, it's very easy to dismiss someone when it comes to like things like that. You can just say, oh, you're just stressed, maybe try this or try that, but there could be more things to it. It's not just
Yep.
it's very complicated. Yeah, I don't want to blame the doctors because I know for a fact that it is very hard to diagnose someone. It takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of expertise to do it, but also it's still hard when people are trying to get seen for the things that they are experiencing, and they kept dismissing just because the doctor thinks oh, you don't have this because you don't have that.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, it's also like in general too. Like it's already hard enough to deal with the system, and then you go home, you hear the same thing from your family. So it's like, okay, how do you ever get better,
Yeah, it's very sad because throughout your journey of looking for a diagnosis, you will often have this imposter syndrome that is like, what if I don't really have this thing?
Yeah.
What if I'm just I'm really just seeking for attention?
What if this is just the excuse?
Yeah, what if this is just an excuse? You will have these kind of things, but I also experienced this kind of things like a lot, like way too lot. I have considered like dropping off this whole like looking for a diagnosis thing a lot of times. But then I remember how, as a childhood, how I struggled, how I got punished a lot, and it's the psychological damage, the physical damage that this whole thing has done to me because nobody saw that I was not
Yeah.
like presenting like other children. The damage is, it's deep. It's deep. Even if you don't see it, you can feel it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a quote right there.
Yeah.
Even if you don't feel it, you can. And
Yeah.
even if you don't see it, you can feel it.
Yeah. To undo a trauma that has been done on you, to undo all the trauma response that you have learned along the way, that's gonna take long time to just try to untangle one by one and undo everything, every single unhealthy coping mechanism that you have picked up because of this whole unhealthy life thing. So
Yeah.
it's
hard.
It's hard.
And it's not saying that everything is horrible or terrible, because at the end of the day, you did find a really good psychologist, right? You're a therapist.
Yeah, my current therapist.
You love her.
I love her so much.
Shout out to Kyra's therapist.
100%.
Yeah. There are some good help. It's just that, I think because a lot of people, when you try to say, when you're struggling mentally, and then people say, oh, you can just reach out for professional help, you can reach out for help, which is valid, because not normal people can't really just give advice to you, right? But at the same time, it's also not just 100% pleasant feeling to just reach out for help when the system is not helpful.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, even though it took us such a long time and such a rough path, we still end up in a place that we're like, okay, we're comfortable with this, and that we've learned a lot, right? So with that, would just say that you regret reaching out for help?
No.
No.
Absolutely not.
It's worth it in the end.
It is very much worth it. Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing that I have always like been kind of pondering a lot, that seeking for help is not like a linear journey like people think.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of things provided, like therapy. They have multiple therapies, and it can be good to some people, but it can be harmful to some people. From what I read, I remember there was, if you have autism, some kind of therapy is actually bad for you, because your tendency to mask, and if you have autism, you mask a lot, and it's very hard to unmask. Some people just tell the therapist what they want to hear instead of what the people actually want.
Going through.
So in the end of the day, the therapy is just useless, because it's not helping them with anything, because they still have this mask on, and they're just telling the therapist that it's fine.
Yeah.
In the end, nothing is happening. So like not. When you're trying to reach for help, you also need to know like what kind of help that you want to.
Yeah.
You need to know like what is your end goal. Is it like to live life better? Is your end goal is, I don't know, everyone's end goal is to live life better, right? But there are a lot of ways when you can go with it, like taking medications is usually the easy way out. But you also need therapy, because from what I read, pills do not teach skills. Yeah. Even if you are if your brain is less hyperactive, like what you usually have in ADHD, it does not teach you the organization skills, the prioritization skills, the time management skills. Pills do not teach you that. You have to learn that in therapy. So there is more than just seeing a doctor, getting help, seeing a doctor, get medicine. It's not just that. There's a lot of things that you have to learn outside of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot that you need to learn. And even if like your example was autism, even if like for other people, going to therapy is not just because you will be dealing with a lot of like difficult trauma emotions and feelings. So in the beginning you might feel like a drop, right?
Yeah.
Like just for, you know, like we think, oh, help is like you said, it's not a linear path. Once you get help, you will go through a difficult time before you actually get better
Yeah.
at the end. Yeah. Awkward. Okay, this is up to you if you want to answer this, but what's something you wish you would have known earlier about the process?
Everything. It's like going into this whole thing is just like just diving straight into an ocean. You don't know whatever you will find in it. So like you don't know nothing. Like the whole thing is like me for years trying to scramble, trying to find ways of how I can, you know, support myself, and also trying to get this, not to get diagnosed with something, but at least to get my issues seen by a doctor and addressed properly.
Yeah.
So like, it's a lot of possibilities. There's you cannot predict any of what's going to happen in the end. So what I wish I know, it's basically it's like, I think the whole thing is not linear.
It's not easy.
Help is not linear. It's not easy. You need to know your rights. You need to know your what you need. You need to know your angle. You need to know everything, because you know sometimes doctor won't just give it to you.
Yeah, and it's okay to keep trying.
Yes. Exactly.
And you finally get your OKU card.
Oh yes! It's so funny that people have different reactions to me actually getting officially registered as a people with disability in Malaysia. There are people who don't know me. They were like, "Oh my god, I feel so bad for you for being registered as disabled." But people who know me is like, congratulations, which is very weird to other people who think that. But I have been fighting for a long time to get this recognition. It's like a huge, can I say this? It's like a huge middle finger to all the doctors that have dismissed my ADHD before. It's like, this is the proof that I actually have ADHD, and I suffer greatly because of, you know, being untreated, and because you guys have dismissed my ADHD. So that's about it. Yeah.
So now you have your medal.
It's so weird to call it a medal, but
Sorry,
it kind of is.
Yeah. But I'm glad that you got your help finally, and that now you are healing, you are feeling better. And I heard that you also have your audition tomorrow.
Oh,
for your, is it for violin?
Yes.
Good luck
Thank
for
you.
tomorrow. You're gonna be a successful musician. I mean, you already are.
Am I?
You are. You're always busy. Every week concert.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, but this is your second chance in life to finally get what you want.
Yes, exactly.
There it is, everyone. We learned that the process of healing is not linear, and that even though you're not alone if you already reached out for help, and that it's difficult because a lot of other people go through the same thing. Both of us went through such a rough patch in our life just for trying to reach out for help, but in the end it's worth it, and we're trying to heal. So I hope you find the help that you need. And so I think that's it. If you want to listen more to our podcast conversations, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our Instagram for more updates. Bye bye.